So my name is Patrick Plourde. I'm a creative director on Child of Light.
And I'm Jeffrey O'Hallam. I'm the writer of Child of Light.
Well, the thing is, it's really easy for integration of art. For the artist, they draw illustration and then they can import it in the game. It's really smooth, seamless. So that really allowed us to go on ahead with the an art style where you would feel like the artist brush directly in the game. So I had that vision of trying to play a game on the concept art directly. So that's what the engine really allows to do. It's really powerful for expressing artwork in a 2D game. Uh, I wouldn't say that it's not a matter for at least for me it's not a matter of like big or small. It's as creative on both ends. But for Child of Light, that's the project I wanted to in the size I wanted to make. I wanted to know. I know I can make a game with 300, 600 people behind it, and I was really comfortable with that style of development. So, can I make a game with 30 people in it? So that's that's the challenge I wanted to have, and then to make something really more intimate instead of loud. So yeah, Child of Light is extremely close to the vision I had initially on the game. But I wouldn't necessarily say that a bigger game is more compromised as a vision. You can still go all in. Assassin's Creed has a really unique vision behind it, even if it's made with a lot of people. So in both cases, I mean, as long as the creator has like a vision and he can choose to express it, whatever.
Ubisoft is a company that has always been very comfortable allowing creatives to express what they want to express. And so on Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, when I wrote that, and on Far Cry 3, when I wrote that, I didn't feel censored, and I was trying to express interesting ideas. And in this case, it was a more hopeful tone. You know, Far Cry 3 was a very punk game, very kind of destruction oriented, kind of aggressive experience, and Child of Light is a much more hopeful, I would say, creative experience.
What's my favorite? Okay, so what is my favorite fairy tale? That's a difficult question. Alice in Wonderland is great. Peter Pan is great. And after that, the other, then it's like it's weird because I was telling like the Turtle Pig story to my son 2 days ago, or Little Red Riding Hood. So they're kind of so much. It's kind of so classic-ish that it's kind of ingrained in the DNA more than being like necessarily favorites.
My favorite fairy tale actually comes from Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I was raised, and it's called La Llorona, and it's about children who go down too close to the river at night, get taken by this wailing woman and drowned. And it turns out that her children were lost in the river and drowned. She went searching for them, and she died, and so she haunts every river in New Mexico. And that terrified me as a child. And I would try to go down to the river at night still because I was attracted to being afraid, and I would see ghosts, and I had very frightening situations. So I guess that fairy tale doesn't quite work because it attracted me to the river rather than repulsing me, but it's always stuck with me. So that kind of dark fairy tale I love from Germany and kind of Eastern Europe. There were some Czech films that I loved growing up, like about babies that pieces of wood that became babies, and there's one about a mother who's looking for her child, and her child comes knocking at the door, and she can't open the door because if she opens it, there's this baby corpse at the door. So there's all these intense, dark stories that I find really invigorating.
One of the first inspiration for the game. I'm a huge fan of personally of Japanese RPG. So So then the idea was, what if we can make a Final Fantasy VI, but instead of using the pixels art, we could use Amano-san artwork directly in the game. So that was really exciting for me. So we managed, we went through and with our own style to, look for the watercolor art style. And then the opportunity came at some point. It was really interesting where we contact, we put in contact with Mr. Amano, and he agreed to do artwork for us. And I had the chance to meet him in Japan at his office, and it was like, for me it's interesting because he was part of the spark of the creation, where it's like, what if we make a game with his, what if make a game with his style, and then he reinterpreted the art style of the game through his own eyes. So it was kind of like the circle being completed on that, and it was kind of a dream come true to be able to collaborate with him on that piece. The gameplay style, even from the very beginning, I knew I wanted to make a kind of Japanese style RPG. It's really about, like, there's a point where you start making things that it's your bucket list. I remember first time I worked on Rainbow Six, I was like, oh, I'm working on Rainbow Six. I remember the first one. So for me it was super exciting, and having the chance to make a game pitch. Then the idea is, okay, what type of game I want to make, and the one that really stuck out, like I would pinch myself if I would be able to do that, was a turn-based classic RPG. So that's the end product. And after that, we brought our own kind of flavor to it.
Child of Light, if I were to recite the poem that makes Child of Light, you would have to sit around for about 10 to 15 hours, because that's how long it is. I mean, the entire game is in verse, and it's a 200-page script, so it's longer than Far Cry 3. And it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Writing that kind of epic work and making sure that all the stanzas fit the rules of poetry is it's like a combination between the creative work of coming up with characterization and how a scene is going to progress, mixed with like crossword puzzles, where you're trying to, you start a stanza and then you have to complete the stanza in a way that makes it perfect, and each stanza takes a certain amount of time. And so it's not something that you can have this rush of inspiration and do like 80 pages in one night, which happens sometimes when you're really in the groove of writing something. That anyone, be they a critic or someone who can barely speak the language, knows when a line rhymes and when it doesn't. So that means that everything has to be perfectly done and executed following the rules. So the poem of Child of Light is performed through the game itself, and I'm very proud of that.
No, yeah, of course. The point is, to be able to use the best of different art and to group that in games. So painting is a beautiful art form. Music, the orchestral music and the piano music is the best of what the music can offer. And then poetry is a high level art form, and the highest level of what literature can be. So and then to regroup that in another art form, which is the art of games. So it was an interesting exercise. Well, the idea behind the co-op is to be able to bring somebody, so your child or your spouse, and be able to share an adventure. So without having the second person be a specialist in RPG. So we have the deep RPG behind that already in the genre know and love, and then you can bring somebody that can even not be able to read, and I still have fun playing the game. So it's kind of a welcoming experience, and to be able to share an adventure together, it creates like those bounding moment where, you know what, remember the time where we finished that game together, and it's nice memories, and especially in the wrapping of a fairy tale game. Fairy tales are made for to be told by parents to children. So in that case, it made a lot of sense to have the same thing replicated in a gameplay experience where, as an adult, you can bring your child, and after that, of course, as they grow older, it's probably the parent that's going to play the secondary character, because children, they want to be the hero. So that's why I wanted to both to be fun, because you don't want to be stuck with the second character that is useless. So but it's part of the inspiration to, let's share a moment together around a game and around good values.
Well, and it's effortless to switch in and out of two-player. Like one player just has to set down the controller, and then control will be given back to the first player. So it's a very user-friendly drop-in, drop-out experience that allows you to go solo or with someone else.